Good morning. If someone can do me a favor and let me know if you can see my screen and also hear me, you can just send me a chat message or post it in a question. That'd be great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Today we've got a lot to cover. We're going to be training the CCSD team on multiple documents. So we're going to go through, it'll probably be on the phone about an hour and 15 minutes today going through multiple documents, and then we'll finish up tomorrow. So welcome to DGS and Project Team CCSD Team Training Day 1. My name is Susan Mills, and I'm with Project Team in the Professional Services Department. I work in education and implementation. And again, today we're going to be covering a lot of documents for the DGS CCSD team. If you have questions, what I've asked everybody to do over these classes is, and you guys are doing great adding information. Thank you all for letting me know you can hear and see me. What I've asked people to do is go ahead and ask questions, and as I get a moment, I'll look over at the questions. I'll answer these as we're going along. So before I get started, I want to talk about some additional resources so that way everybody knows where to go if you need help. If you need a new user account, or if you need access to a project and you're a DGS employee, I want you to reach out to dgs.projectteam@dc.gov, okay? They will make sure to help you. My support team can't do anything at this point because it all has to be taken care of by the DGS team that's rolling this out. DGS vendors, you want to make sure you reach out to your DGS project manager. They're the ones, once their projects are up and going, that will make sure to invite you to your project. Again, DGS employees, if you're looking to be added to a project or you're looking for your user account, the email is dgs.projectteam@dc.gov. DC vendors, reach out to your DGS project manager. Once you become a user and you're actually in the system working within your project, if you have questions, you can either click on your name once you're in Project Team and then select email support or view help pages. You can also refer to the quick reference guides, and I'll talk to you about those in a second. You want to make sure, if you can't, figure it out, make sure you send an email to support@projectteam.com, or you can click email support by clicking on your name within the project. If you're a vendor and you want to use Project Team on other projects along with DGS, reach out to our sales team at sales@projectteam.com, and we'll be happy to talk to you. Now, for those of you, when you get your account, I want to walk you through this, okay? Once you get your account, you'll receive an invitation via email. You'll know it's coming from us because it'll say Project Team at the top. And there's going to be a button at the bottom that says Finish Your Account. Now, it's really important if you don't respond to this invitation within 24 hours. The invitation will expire, but I'm going to show you in a minute how to fix that. Okay, so within the first 24 hours, you want to make sure you click that Finish Your Account button, and it's going to bring you to the new user create your account screen. You want to put in your first name, your last name, and put in a password. Now, you can tell it to show your password. It only shows it to you just to make sure you've typed it in right. Make sure that you look at the password criteria on the bottom of the form. It tells you exactly what is required for you to be able to create a successful password. And click that Sign Up button. Now, let's say that you lost your password or your invitation expired and you went to put in your password and it kept saying invalid token. You might get an email saying, or a warning, you've received an invalid token. What that means is the invitation has expired, Okay, best thing for you to do is come to Project Team. You'll click Forgot Your Password. You're going to enter your company email address, not your personal email address, because the system knows you by your company email address. So enter your company email address, click the button, and it will send you a brand new invitation. Really simple, and I'll show you how to get there in just a second. So we're going to start off by going into Project Team. I do have a question of how do I access the system? So I'm going to go ahead and log in. I've opened up projectteam.com in my browser. I'll just put this in my address bar, www.projectteam.com. And it brings me to the Project Team information page. This is our web page. And here at the top in the right corner, it's a login button. I'm going to click login. And now, before I do anything else, because I don't want to have to do that again, I like as least amount of mouse clicks as I can. I'm going to go ahead and drag this address to my favorites bar. I could also click this little star and edit this item and put Project Team login, and I could tell it I want to add this to work or whatever I have, and then click done. Or if I wanted to, I could drag this to my desktop. If I drag it to my desktop, or I can make a shortcut by adding it that way as well. Okay, so let me go ahead and get logged back in. Very first time I log in, it's going to ask me for my email address. That's my company email address. Again, and I'm going to make sure everybody's clear because some people are trying to put in their, their personal email address. Your account is tied to the company you work for. So go ahead and put in your email address and put in the password that you created when you created your account and click login. The login is going to bring you to my page. And I'm not going to go over this in depth because we've got, quite a few other things. But for those of you who are just now joining and haven't seen everything, I did want to get you to this point where you understood what you see when you log in. This is my page, shows me action items and workflow items that are due. Up at the top right, I have action items that I can drop down and I can see everything. I can see I have one that's overdue and one that's due today. I can create a new action item right from this drop down. Any workflows that I have are listed here. As I can see, I do have a workflow, but it's not listed in the overdue, due today, or due this week sections. That tells me I have a workflow that is due farther out than this week. So if I click any of those swim lanes, I can see that I've got a client agency input document to take care of. And I'll show you how to work through those in just a bit. So I'm going to click my name and I'm going to go back to my page. Anytime I need to come back here, that's how I'm going to do it. I can see all of the recent activity documents that have been created and shared with me, or documents that I've worked on, are all listed within this recent activity. I can sort by my projects and I can filter by one project or look at all of them at one time. It shows me the project it was created in. It shows me the document name, who created it, what happened on the document, the time, and the date. So it gives me a lot of great information. I can click on this client agency document and go straight to the document within the project. So it's a real good time saver. Or I can click on CPO training and it will take me to the project. A couple more things and then we're going to get started on the forms within the project. One thing that we're really asking everybody to do is to edit their profile, and you just click that button. Add a photo or an avatar of yourself, whatever your company decides they want to see. But, we like to add a photo. It makes it a little bit more personal. People can know who they're communicating with. You can add your signature if it's going to be used on eMerge templates and reports. And then you want to update your information. So your first and last name and your email address came through when you created your account. But you can change your prefix. You can go ahead and change your job title, work, phone, cell phone, etc. Don't change your email address, because if you change your email address, you will no longer be able to log in, because remember, it's tied to the company you work for. Once you update this, go ahead and click Save. If you need to change your email address, please reach out to support and they will be able to help assist you. Okay, another thing I want to show you is how to update email notifications. You want to click that ellipsis button and then click Update Email Notifications. Email notifications are really critical for DGS because you guys are going to be using new shares and comments made. You'll also be using action items and workflows. So you want to make sure that this is set up for every project you have access to. So click Edit, and you want to check the boxes for each of these. Comments made are going to allow you to be very collaborative on documents in the system, on records. Meaning that you can place a comment if you're, if you need to ask a question, before you answer an RFI, if you need clarification, you can put a comment in, it goes to the person, it will notify everybody that has access to that particular document. So you can get the clarification you need before you answer that RFI or before you answer any document. New shares will let you know when someone has shared a document with you. Really important. Action items as well. Action items are somebody assigning a to-do item to you, or you can assign one to yourself to remind yourself. And workflows are structured workflows on certain documents that DGS uses, meaning that, an RFI, the GC will submit an RFI workflow to either the architect or the DGS PM, whichever is the best person to answer the RFI. That person will respond and they'll workflow it. They'll either pass it, which means, okay, this answer is acceptable, we're going to go ahead and close it, or they'll cancel it because the item is possibly duplicative. There might be a couple of RFIs related to the same topic. And whenever they reject something, they will put notice in there why they rejected it, so you know why it was sent back. So as you can see, we've got a Save button. Everything's ready. I'm going to click Save, and then I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom and click Close. I can also look at View Help pages, Email Support, and provide feedback. Before I go any further, I want to show you the Project Team /DGS site. This is where you can download the quick reference guides we'll talk about today, as well as watch the training videos, because we will upload the videos from today's session, and you'll be able to watch those again if you would like. And then you've got the Visit Calendar page, which allows you to register. And as you can see, we've added the intended audience, and we've added class notes, which tells you all about the information. Okay. You can register by clicking the blue Register button, and then you select the class or classes that you want to register for. So this page is very, very important. I would definitely, advise you to download those quick reference guides, because John Harmon and I spent a lot of time on those developing out. John gave me all the standard operating procedure information. So it tells everybody who is on the project what they need to do on each document, who needs to take which step. So make sure you download those, because we cover a lot of information in these classes, and I don't expect everybody to remember everything. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Project Team. To open a project, I'm going to click the drop-down for the project button. If the project is listed in my drop-down, I can click the name very easily, or I can search for the project by title. I'm going to go ahead, and one thing you need to see here is you may have access to a lot of projects, and as the projects close out, you really don't want to see them in your quick list. So to fix that, you click the ellipsis button and click Configure Project menu. And you just uncheck the projects you no longer want to see and add the ones you want to see by checking a box beside the title. Click Save, and those projects will now be available. To open a project, just click the project title. When you open, you're going to come to your project homepage. The left navigation buttons will allow you to move around within the different modules within the projects. The project homepage shows you your favorite form types, and this is super simple to set up. These are the forms that you're going to use on a consistent basis that you want quick access to. There may be some that you'll only use every now and then, and I'll show you how to quickly find those. But I like to put things that I'm working on in different phases of the project. Like if I'm, responsible for setting up the budget and the contracts and things like that, I'll set that up. And then when those are all finished and I'm working on the document control, then I remove the BCM documentation from my favorites, and I put my document control stuff up, like my RFIs, equipment list, etc. And then I click save. When that happens, my grid changes and I have buttons where I can quickly access my different favorite form types. I just click on the button and it automatically opens up to the document, what we call log or register. Okay, right underneath are recently created forms. This allows you to get a really quick access to forms that you've been working on in case you need to go back in and you need to edit those forms. So this is a great place to come in. You can look at view all and it'll show you every form that's ever been created all the way down, and you've got pages here. And if you obsoleted something, made something no longer available because maybe it was a duplicate, you can always get right back to it by clicking on the link and then unobsoleting. You can use your front and back browser buttons to go ahead and move back and forth in between as well, which is really nice. But if you ever got lost, let's say you were in files and you needed to get back to your project homepage, just click the project home button and it'll bring you right back. Before we get into the forms, I want to talk to you about the directory because this is really important for you guys. So adding in users, right? Let's say that you're developing the project team and you're adding the users. Where you're going to do that is you're going to come to the directory. Look to see if the person is already listed in the system. If they have access, they'll have a green check mark and it'll have connected. If they have an invite button, if you've added them, let's say you added them simply as a contact because you wanted to use them on records, they'll have an invite button. As long as that invite button's not pushed, then they're not an actual user in the system, they're just a contact. To remove a contact, let's say I'm going to remove Liz and just show you how to add her real quickly. I'll click the drop down and I'll select remove, and it's going to remove her as a contact from my project. Now, if I need to add a company, I'm going to scroll back up to the top and click add business. I need to search to see if the company is in the system. Solution guidance is in the system, but let's say I needed to create a new company. I would click create new. You want to make sure that they're not in the system so you do not have duplicative records. You can put their name and you can go ahead. I just put the company name in, and when the company comes in, I ask them to update their information so it populates it for me. That way, the information they're putting in is, correct, and you have all the information from them. So I'm going to open up a company form and let you see what it looks like. So once they come in, you've saved your company, they've come in and put all their information, right? They've put in the business type, their website, their headquarters, and a description. And if they've added an address, then that way you can click add to the address to make sure the address is added to the project. Contacts that are already added to your project are listed here, and you can see that they're all connected. If you want to add someone, you can click add, and this will show you the people that are not currently in the project, and you can add them this way. If you need to create a new item, then you would click create new. I believe John Harmon is handling all contacts for DGS. So, if you can't find anybody, I'd just send that, the DGS email a message and just say, hey, this person is not listed in DGS. Do you want me to add them, or can you add them for me? But if you're adding your contractors, you can go ahead and add them. You'll add their contacts, and then you'll select the people that you want added to your project. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about emails. So I'm going to click over here on the forms. That's another quick way to get to forms. If you're not on your project homepage and you just want to get to a form, I'll click on forms and I'll type in the form I'm looking for, or at least a part of the name, and then I'll click the title of the form. Now, emails allow me to send emails to the project using a unique email address, right? Every project has its own different unique email address. And the beauty of this is all those emails that we have outside of our project management system allow me to, I can use this system and go ahead and put the information in the system. I can forward those emails to my project email and make sure I save them in there. I do suggest that when you forward an email that you make sure when it's in the system, you at least give access to give access to at least another person on the project, if not more. Simply because the fact if it's needed for a claim or it's needed for any additional reporting, it's there and somebody else has access in case you roll off the project. So what I do is I highlight the email and I copy it, and then I go into my email and I'm going to go to people and I'm going to create a new contact. So I'm just going to click new contact, give it a name. I'm going to change the file as to show as the project name, and then whatever the second word is last, so that way it reads better. I'll paste my email address in, and then I'm going to go ahead and remove the email address from the display as. I just want to see the project name, and I'll click save. Now, if I need to, let's say that I've got a lengthy email discussion going on with a sub, and I want to make sure that I get this information in there in the system so that we've got it for historical purposes. I'll click mail, and I'm going to open up an email. I'll click forward, and I'm going to go ahead and type my project name, and I'll click send. Now, in just a few minutes, the email will show up in my inbox. So I'm going to just show you one that I sent yesterday. As you can see, it tells me I've got an action item. Please upload task information. I can see that it is only shared with myself. Absolutely nobody else has access to this email but me. While that's great, it's stored. If I don't share it with anybody and I move off the project or leave the company, it doesn't do anyone else any good. So I would suggest sharing it. And to do that, you can click edit. You can update any information in here. You can see it brings in the entire body, and click save. It'll bring me to my document form, and I can see here it was just shared with one person. To share it, I'll click share, and this works every way in every single document. It's very consistent. I'll select either the team I want to share it with, the share group, or I can select individuals. And I'll click share. And you can see now I've shared it with 7 people. You guys have a lot of share groups, and John has been very, very clear in the titles of who these share groups are. Can you make unique project emails for each project? Yes, sir. Every project has its own unique email. So it knows which project when you email your information from your outside email clients. When you use the unique email address, it knows which project to put it in. Now, I'm going to show you here because I'm going to show you the way the documents are set up before we start getting into the individual documents. I can hover over anyone's name to see if somebody's reviewed it, or I can click view all to get a real quick look at it. I can see that nobody's viewed it. Pretty much makes sense because of the fact that I didn't give anybody access. Because I shared this with the share group, I could come in and I could halt it if I wanted, which means that, you know, just like sending an email out, if I send an email out and I accidentally send it to somebody I didn't mean to, I can't go over to their desk and take it out of their computer. They've got it. It is what it is. You know, I could ask them to destroy it. And if they do, that's, you know, I'm going to have to trust that they do that. But I don't have to send them any further correspondence related to that topic that I accidentally sent them, right? I mean, that the damage is very small. They've gotten the information. But in here, what you can do is, it's just like not sending an additional email, right? You would halt it, and they could see the original document that you shared, but they won't see any additional communications or any updates to the document. Okay, underneath is going to be the details section. The details section is where the metadata is put in, right? This is where all the information is entered in the body of the document. Each form is going to have a different look to it, but this is and once you put in the information, you just go ahead and click save. Anywhere there's a red field, it means it's required, but DGS wants the fields filled in. You'll notice that from the QRGs, they're very detailed on what they want in each field. Action items are awesome because you can assign an action item to someone. So if I came in here and I said, and I could assign this to John, and I'll assign it to myself because I want to be reminded of it, right? I don't want to have to go in search of the one I sent to John. You know, I can always come into the document and see it. And I'm going to give it a due date. Let's give it a due date of yesterday so you can see what that looks like. When I save it, I can save and share it. Let's say, for instance, my boss told me to send this out, and I want him to know that it's been taken care of. It'll show up and shared with me, you know, in his activity log. I can save and share it, or I can just save it, and it just goes between John and I. If it's overdue, it's got a big red type telling you it's overdue. To take care of an action item, you could click on the action item. It opens up the document, and you click Mark Complete. Now, if I go back to my emails, I don't no longer see the action item for this document. So I'll click the checkbox, and it shows me that it's got a line through it, and it's marked as complete. Comments are extremely important with DGS because your comments are going to allow you to collaborate on the document without having to fill in fields that maybe, you know, aren't supposed to be filled in by you at the time. You know, like we were talking about the RFI. You could ask questions on this, you know, in this case is this issue resolved? And if so, can you please reference this email to the appropriate RFI record? You post it, and your question becomes a matter of, you know, record. It's a permanent record on the document. So that way your concerns and everything are captured on here. Now, they've asked me if I can reference this to appropriate RFI. I'm going to click New and Add Existing. And what this does is it creates this two-way link, right, between this RFI and the email. Now, so what happens if I reference this document to another document and the person that has access to the RFI, they do not have access to this email? Well, they're not even going to see this they won't see, if I go to the request for information, they wouldn't even see this email, right? Because they don't have access to it. To them, it doesn't exist. If they don't have access to a document, it does not exist to them unless they hear about it and they ask you to share it. So only the people who have access to the document would actually be able to come in and see the document. Okay, so we've got our emails. We've talked about action items, shared with, details, activity, reference links. Another thing that we really want to teach everybody to do is action item. I mean, attachments. Attachments are really great in this system because you want to attach all the supporting documentation you can. That way you don't have somebody coming up and going, hey, where did you get this information? What source document are you working from? If you attach it all, they've got it right there, right? They'll be able to download the attachment and review it, etc. Workflows. Each document, well, not each document, but there are several documents in the system that have formalized workflows. And formalized workflows are structured. We tell you there's defined instructions in the QRG that tells the different teams who's responsible for submitting a document and who it's going to, and where it will go in the system, so that way, and what to expect. So we will talk about workflows as we go through training. Okay. Now, we talked a bit about the left navigation. We've got the forms. We've talked about files and reports and the calendar all in the introduction. If you have not been to the introduction, I highly, highly suggest that you do. And you can also visit the video page. I broke these down into really short snippets for the introduction part. And this will take you through how to set up everything, how to navigate your project. So we are going to talk about let's talk about DGS master schedules and tasks first. So we're going to go into tasks. Task will be uploaded using the batch import utility because you guys have a lot of tasks. You want to make sure you have the tasks in the system. You can click download, and then you click the open to open the CSV file. The CSV file will have quite a few fields. You can put in the task name, the task ID. You can put in your baseline duration. You can fill all these out. You'll save this to your desktop, and then you'll come back in and upload it. And it will create all your tasks out for you. We have a QRG that will walk you through batch importing as well. And as you can see, it brings in all the tasks. And if you've put in everything as far as like the baseline dates and things like that, that is great. It'll be really helpful. As you can see, it only tells me task names created on and shared. If I click the 3 ellipsis button and click configure log, I can add additional fields to my register view. And I'll click save. Now I can see a whole lot more information here, right? I can print this out, and I can do this in any document. Every document has its own log. I can update and configure these logs to look at how I want to see them. And it will remember the last view that you looked at. So as you can see, I can print this out. I could print this page by clicking print this page and then just going ahead and clicking save, or I could save it to a Google Drive, and there's a few more options here. Are attachments live linked to the source location, on file, or static? You have 2 options on documents, and I'll show you a couple of those in just a second. That's a really, really good question, Patrick. So let's go into a task. And to open a task, as with any register, you can either click the edit and it opens the document in edit view, or if you want to open it in read only and see all the panels, you can click the blue hyperlink. So I'm going to address the question on the attachments. So I can either drag and drop files from my desktop, from another folder. If I had, a Dropbox and I just want to snag them all and drop them over here, they're going to be uploaded to the system. Where they're going to go is they're going to go in the files, and anytime I attach a form, it's going to be attached to the actual form, but it's also going to go into a form library. And what I mean by that is, let's go down to the request for information form. Okay, I can see I've got 3 files. That means I have 3 attachments uploaded. I have flange size for boiler number 12. If I click that RFI, I can see I have 2 attachments here. Now, the beauty of this is I could go back. Let's say I'm going to go into the tasks. Just going to attach this just so you can see it. And I open my task and I realize I want to upload something to the task. Maybe not a great example, but it will show you what I'm going to do here. Again, I can drag and drop, or I can click the upload new and it'll go right out to somewhere on my desktop or, another folder, or I can click from files. And from files allows me to go into project files if I have any in there. Let me see. I don't have any training materials, but if I go into form attachments, remember we had that one under RFIs. So I can scroll down to request for information. I can select the flange size for boiler number 12, and I can select the flange chart. Well, it asks me here, okay, do you want version 1? Yes. I'm going to scroll on down and click add attachment, and now I can attach from within my my attachments library within the files module. Did that answer the question, Patrick? Wonderful. Okay, so tasks. I would definitely utilize the batch import utility, and that is going to be on the task log, batch import here. If you need some help with that, you can definitely reach out to support when you're ready to upload your tasks. You have schedules in the system, and I'm going to teach you on the DGS master schedule. Super easy to create a schedule. You would click new, and this could be the milestone schedule or your project schedule. This will be the submission date, and you're going to put some notes in here about your schedule. Now, to add tasks that apply to the schedule, you could click add existing, and you go down and check the tasks that belong in the schedule. And you can add them as you go along. You're not stuck, with just the ones you added. So if you want to add the ones as you're going along, that's great. You can do that. Now, remember, on the task itself, you're updating this information, the baseline start, baseline finish, etc. So it's going to populate with this schedule as it's going along. You'll want to save and share share it with the applicable people. Super easy to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and share it with my project team folks. And we have the milestone schedule completed. So if you need to update this, you can go to the task itself and update. Let's say it started and it's got a late finish of today. Okay, and then let's say it is 100% complete. Go ahead and you just populate all those. And if we go backwards into our schedule, you'll now see where that 11-month warranty walkthrough is complete. I can scroll over and see it's 100% complete here. All right, so we've got project information. There's going to only be one of these, and it will need to be updated as you go along. Never want to create another one. Only one, because it will mess with the links within the Salesforce integration. So only one. And there is, a subject, tells the building. It gives you all this information, fiscal year. If you are not sure what needs to go in here, reach out to your DGS PM or reach out to, John Harmon, and he'll definitely, this, as you can see, it's got milestones, expected kickoff, etc. This, only one of these needs to be created. Okay, guys? And then it just simply needs to be updated each week. Another item that we have that will need to be on your project updates, okay? I started this a week of 131. This is the very first one. And there was a lot of information that we put in. It is, you know, going in, it's got the update, the budget, the schedule, completion level of percentage, etc. You know, you can add activities in progress. It's got hot issues, all of this. So you've got all of this information that's there, and you update as much of the information as you can. You save it, you share it. Well, the next week rolls around, and what you do is you take the most recent week. In this case, I have 5/12. I'm going to open the week of 5/12, and I need to create a new one for this week. Well, I love this feature because it makes life so much easier. Come to the 3 ellipses button and click Clone. What that does, it creates a brand new document, pulling in all the information. And you want to make sure that you change the things that you need to change. What is the budget status? Well, I think the budget status is green this week. You know, you want to make sure that you know for sure the schedule status. Make sure to update everything for the current week. Then you save and share it with the applicable parties. So now if I go back, I click the link in the top to go back to my register view. I can see that I now have my new week there. And if I want to, I can go ahead and configure that log and add some additional information. So that way, you know, it's right there when I need to see it. And I've got a great register view here. Okay, let's talk about risk logs. So if I go into my risk log, you can see I've got a risk register. Now these registers show you any documents that were shared with you or that you've created. Okay, so again, if somebody else starts talking about a document that you haven't seen and they think that you should be answering or responding and you go into your log and it's not there, you know, I would create an action item and I would pick my project and click next. And action items don't always need to be associated with a form. So you could leave it like this and say, okay, please share the RFI 45 with me. And you're going to send that to the person that needs to share it with it. Click in it, you know, assign it to yourself as well so you can track it. And then give them a due date that you want it done by. And make sure that you save and share it with the appropriate people, or just save and share with yourself, between yourself and that person. That way, it's on record that you need access, right? I mean, you've given them a task to do it, and so that way they can go ahead and do it, and you know that you've assigned a document. So risk logs allow me to capture the risk, and I'm going to go ahead and click New. I'll put in a subject and a date, who it was identified by. There are fields, and I'm going to show you in fields, you can start typing the name, and it will show you a list of people from the information you've entered. I've got type here. I have probability, severity, mitigation strategy, the potential cost impact, if there's any scheduled days, comments, and the lessons learned. Now, let's say that you want to, you know, you want to put it in there, you've got it ready, you're not ready to fill in everything. You can always come back to the log and click the document and click Edit to open it and complete the information. So let's say this is finished and you want to come in and put the lessons learned, you can do so and then click Save. Now, using these, you know, comments, as you can see, John gave a couple of examples. I completely disagree with the mitigation strategy, and then Another person comes back and says, why do you disagree? So that definitely gives you an opportunity. The collaborativeness allows you to really have that good discussion that we want to have on projects, right? And everybody learns from it. Okay, why don't we do this? Let's take a 5-minute break and everybody stand up and stretch. I'm going to go and get my iPad because I need to refer to a couple of the QRGs and the descriptions on them, and I will come back in 5 minutes, 10:50, and then we'll continue on, okay? Okay. Hope everybody was able to stretch your legs a little bit. I appreciate you let me take a small break. So we finished up with risk logs. Let's talk about the IGE document. It's under Forms, locate IGEs, and let's just talk briefly about what the IGE is and the information you will be required to capture. So just click New. As with any document log, you're going to click that New button to create a new one. And as you're aware, IGEs are estimates produced in-house or by third parties to determine the reasonable cost of work to be performed on a contract or project. And the IGE form in Project Team is utilized by the DGS project manager to capture the information detailed in the IGE for the record on the project. Documenting IGEs also allows the information to be available for reporting and comparison purposes and for reference when requesting procurement actions or reviewing and negotiating proposals. IGEs are required for every procurement request and should be logged in Project Team and linked to every contract and change order by use of the reference link panel in each respective form. Vendor users are not able to view the IGE form nor any reference linked to other forms. So make sure that when you do share this, you're cognizant of who you're sharing it with. So when you create it, remember we click the New button and it's going to bring us into the IGE document. In the subject, you're going to want to enter a descriptive IGE title. Enter the date it was created in the IGE date field and who created it. You want to make sure to enter a descriptive scope of work covered by the IGE. Make sure to add the work covered in the IGE in the square footage field, project square area square footage. You may enter the number or use these up and down arrows. I've always found it's quicker to enter the number. And then you want to create the IGE breakdown. And to do that, you'll click Create New. And you're going to go ahead and you're going to create a separate cost line item for each distinct cost item in the IGE. So you'll enter a division. You can begin typing it or select from the drop-down. You'll enter a scope item, add the quantity for lump sum cost, enter 1. Apply the unit of measure. Again, that's a drop-down, so all you have to do is just select from that one. And add the unit cost for the item in any applicable notes. Now, there's also an item total field, and that is going to be the formula for determining the item total, of course, is the quantity times the unit cost. And just put that in. It doesn't calculate for you, so you just have to snag your calculator on your phone to do that. And enter any applicable notes. If you have a new cost line item, you'll click the Add New button. Once you're finished adding the cost line items, just go ahead and click the Add button, and it'll be listed here. You want to enter any assumptions applicable. Again, that's a Create New button, and it's just a description, and you click Add. Same thing for qualifications and exclusions. Then you want to put any applicable notes about this IGE in this form. Now notice you've got some formatting, so if you want to bold it and update that information, with highlights or change the color so it makes it really apparent to somebody, you can. The question I just received is, are you able to copy an IGE from a similar project to a new project? I'm afraid not. You can't copy the actual document, but if you have multiple IGEs, you could use the batch import, enter the information on the Excel document, and import those in. That's a one quick way if you have multiples. Otherwise, you'll have to manually enter those. So I'm going to go back to my IGE document. Of course, you want to share that and share it with the applicable parties. Now, let's say we need to come in and edit it. You're going to open your IGE register and click the link to open it up. Don't forget you've got action items and activities and comments. Remember, we also talked about referencing the document. And so we've opened the document. We're going to go here and click the new and add existing, and we're going to reference this to any contracts and change orders. So if I've got a contingency draw request, if I've got a contract, you know, I can go ahead and reference those. And they'll appear here, and a dual link will appear on the document you're linking to. Sorry, I was reading a question. Can you use the IGE document from the vendors that create them for us? Daryl, that's a good question, and I think that's going to be a John Harmon question that we're going to have to ask him, okay? I think it's a great question, and I think what we'll do is we'll add that to a list of questions and get John to let us know for the upcoming class, and I'll ask him to also reach out to you if that's okay. Or you can reach out to John directly,
I'm here.
And he'll give you an answer to that. Hey, John.
I'm here, Susan. Hey.
Okay. The question is, can you use the IGE document from the vendors that create them for us?
The vendor, if you have a cost estimator on a project, you can invite them to collaborate on the project and project team. There is a cost estimator share group, and if you invite them and put them in that share group, they'll have access to this IGE form within the project, and they can create it in here for you automatically. So you wouldn't even have to do it. That answer your question?
Got it. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so don't forget these reference links. You know, as you can see, I went ahead and I linked to a contract. So when I go into the contract, I can see the contract is in here, right? And I can also see, I can go right back to the IGE. Anybody that does not have access to the IGE will not even see this information here. Okay, now if I need to edit my IGE, I'm going to open my IGE log. I'm going to go ahead and click edit, and I'll just make the appropriate changes. Now, one thing that is really important is, and you know, we've talked about this before, is making sure that you upload attachments, because the attachments are, you know, that's really going to help you out. Believe it or not, it'll help you more out than you think it will, because you won't have people asking you, hey, where did you get this information from? You know, you have to dig through your emails or through your files and find it. If it's there, and saves you a lot of time. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll talk about memos to file and meeting minutes. So let's look at memos to file. Again, I'm just going to type a portion of the word I'm looking for and then click the form. This is my memos to file register. If I want to configure the log, I click the 3 ellipses button and click configure log. To create a new one, I'm going to click new. Now, the memos to file form is used by the internal DGS project team to capture any pertinent information, decisions, discussions, or files that have no other specific place within the project team system to capture them. Project plans, strategic planning memos, scope planning documents are a few examples of the type of items that can be captured with memos to file form. By capturing these items within the project, they're available for the project record and are searchable, and you can report against them, which is really critical. Okay, give me a second. My internet is acting just a little slow this morning. Now we click the new button. You guys are all familiar with that. Remember, anywhere there is a field bordered in red and has required, it is required to save. But with that caveat, in the QRGs, every field is listed and they tell you what to put in there. Because remember, John is going to be creating these really amazing reports, and reports are only as good as the information that's put in the system. And these reports are going to reflect all the hard work you're doing on the project. So make sure that you enter a descriptive, sorry, go ahead.
I said no pressure there.
I know, right? Make sure that you enter a descriptive title in the subject, meaning that you want it to be specific enough to determine what the memo is about. You just don't want to put just a short word like, you know, document, because nobody's ever going to know what it's about. So make sure you're descriptive. Enter a memo date, and the date fields are cool because they open up a calendar, utility, and you can pick from the calendar. You want to put who the memo is from. you can either type the name or you can click the drop down. If their name is not in that list, you can still add them. It won't add them to the drop down list, but it will be added to the document itself. You're going to put as far as the enter a brief description of what the memo is regarding. For example, example, project scope, or SBI set-aside determination are some good examples. Make sure to enter any additional information in the memo field. This is the explanation of the memo and what it means. And if the update to the memo is being entered, you can select the update. You can select the update date. You can always come back and add that, right? I mean, if you're just putting this in and you come back in a little bit, what you would do is, let's say you've got your memo here. You would go ahead and save it down to this part and share it. Well, then you're going to come in a little bit later and say, okay, I want to go ahead and add the update date and any update information. And to do that, you're going to open the memos to share log, memos to file log, click on the memo you want to update and click edit. Then you'll come down and you'll enter the update date, and then you'll enter any applicable update information and save it again. Don't forget, upload any supporting documentation that's really, really important, and that way you can make sure that, you know, people have the information they need. People can make comments on this item or assign actions and reference. Okay, I've got a couple of questions here. I got a few actually, so let me go ahead and come up here. Okay, typically divisions for project components are available upon award to the contractor. The document in pass includes an IG and an SOW. IG is an estimate not in divisions but by category. Past projects costs are verified upon award of contractor. Does this system link to pass, and whom will be responsible for adding information in pass? John, I've had a couple of questions about pass, so can you talk about the integrations with, or how people can manage the other systems that you're using? And we probably need to create a document and upload it.
PASS is a completely separate system, and the district will not allow anything to link with PASS. So there is no connection between this and PASS. This is a project management system for the project documentation from inception to completion, to keep the documents in, but the financial system for the district for POs and procurement and stuff like that is still PASS. That everything you do in PASS that's required in PASS will have to be done in PASS. I unfortunately didn't hear the whole question, so that's just an overview of PASS, but I'm trying to go back and read this question here.
It says, who will be responsible for adding information to PASS?
I think currently it's a mix depending on programs. If it's going to stay who it is. If it's your responsibility as the project manager currently, then it's going to remain your responsibility as PM. I know some programs, the EPM does it, some ALAM does it. So for now, that's exactly the same as it was. That hasn't changed.
Okay, and so we are duplicating the same information in PASS and project team?
No. PASS is a PO request procurement financial system, and it will have some of the same documents, but it's not a duplication of information per se. It's one stores records for the project, one is requesting a purchase order. So there may be some overlap, but it's not duplication.
Okay. Did that answer your questions, or did you have any others for John about IGEs and PASS? Okay. So I have another question about meeting minutes, which we're going to do now. Meeting notes are completed by the AE, so will they have access to upload this documentation? We are training all of the vendors, architects, engineers, contractors, how to create meeting minutes in the system, so they will have access. Now, they will not have, let me go ahead and quell any fears about people seeing things they're not supposed to. Project team is extremely security conscious. You cannot see a document unless it's been shared with you. Okay. All right. So we're going to do meeting minutes. Meeting minutes are super easy. If I do meetings, I'm just going to go ahead and click my meeting title, and it opens up my meeting register. And you can see that I have a lot of meetings here. I've got safety meetings, engineering meetings, etc. So before I go any further, let's talk about something right quick. We've got another question, John. In the former system, invoicing was processed through Prolog. Will that happen in PT as well? We will be talking about invoicing probably in tomorrow's class, and we can definitely address that. But John, can you answer that question just briefly before I move on?
The pencil copy invoice will be processed and reviewed and approved or rejected, and all of that whole pencil copy process will happen through project team. The district has the DC vendor portal that is the official invoice submission system, which happens after the pencil copy is approved, and that's not going to change, as that's a citywide requirement, not a DGS requirement. There's no choice. But the first part, the pencil copy, will happen through project team. And everything will be tracked through project team, similar to how it was through the invoice process and payment and all of that. That will be done by the financial group in project team as the invoice goes through the vendor portal.
Thank you, John. Did that answer your question about the invoice? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, I've got a couple more forms I want to go over before we, go on and close out this session. So one is going to be meeting minutes. As you can see, this is my register, this is my log. I can show only the latest meetings that I have access to or that I've created. That way, if I don't want to see everything, I can create a new meeting, and let's talk about meetings for a minute. You could create a one-off meeting like a project kickoff meeting, and that's fine. You can definitely do that. And you can also create meetings that belong to a set or series. And what that means is, let's say you've got a scheduled meeting that goes on, every week, every 2 weeks, every month. You're going to want to create that in a series, so it's easy to go ahead and pull from that information, pull it over from the previous week, and keep up with all the tasks and meeting notes. So to create one that's already in the series, I've got a couple of ways I could do that. Let's say that I wanted to go in and host another weekly site safety meeting. I could click here and create new, or I could go straight down into my meetings and I could click the very last one. The most current one. I click the title. And this gives me a button at the top that says create next in the series. If I click this, it's going to tell me I'm bringing everything over. If you don't want an item to come over in the next meeting, you want to set the status to close before creating the follow-up. Okay, so that's fine. I'll click yes. And it brings everything over for me. I simply need to update the start date and time and add in any new meeting topics. But I want to go and take you from the very beginning. So let's say I've got a brand new meeting that we're starting, and this is going to be a new internal project team meeting. So we'll just say this is going to be a project team weekly discussion. Okay, tells me this is meeting number 1. I want to put my start date and time. We're going to host it on Thursdays, and it's going to happen at 3 p.m. So I'll just select 3 p.m. twice. I could have a broad expanse if I wanted to. And I'm going to go ahead and choose an hour duration. I need to tell everybody where this is going to be hosted, and this is going to be at Smith Architects or Smith Construction headquarters. And who is preparing this particular agenda? This agenda will become my meeting notes, right? So it's really nice because I can preset it up, and this will be for Okay, and if I wanted to go ahead and bold this, I can. I just select the area I want to bold. I can also add bullets. I can add a hyperlink, etc. Now, I want to go ahead and select who I'm going to invite to my meeting. So I'll click the Create New button, and I'm going to put John Harmon. John has updated his phone number, so that information will automatically populate. I'm going to go ahead and add John Bunch. And I'm going to go ahead and add Wayne Frias. So I've added the people that are going to attend the class or attend the meeting, sorry. You'll notice I'm not putting any attendance in because this is going to be my agenda and my meeting invite and my meetings. So once I host the meeting, I can go ahead and mark who is attending. Now, and I've got a really good question from Patrick, if meetings are virtual meetings, where do we add the meeting hyperlink? You could add the meeting hyperlink right in here because you've got a hyperlink here, or you can copy and paste, from your meeting, GoToMeeting, WebEx, whatever system you're using, you can post all of that information in here.
But also put that in.
And you can also put it the time. Yeah, you would want to put on your location, this is a virtual meeting. Please see the purpose and, the information and purpose to connect. However you want to do that, but that's a great question because we are hosting a lot of those now, aren't we? Okay, so new topics. You can go ahead and set up your topic list. Like this will be general discussion. We want to talk about outstanding RFIs. We want to talk about the design review process. And you can add additional topics as you're going along. You're not limited to what you set up in the original meeting. And you can also reorder your topics by clicking Reorder Topics and then moving items around into whatever order you want to see them. And you can do this from meeting to meeting. I mean, it just depends on what you think is the first thing that you want to talk about. So I've created my agenda and I'm going to save and share it. And I'm going to save it with the people that need to receive the agenda invite. Now, it's time to host the meeting. We're going to come in. You'll open the meeting log. Click the meeting. You can search for it. As you can see, I have a lot. So I'm just going to put in a brief bit of the word project. I'll find my meeting and open it up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know that we're going to go ahead and talk about RFIs. So I want to go ahead and reference the RFIs that we're going to discuss. And I can start typing in REQ and it will bring up the request for information documents that we have in the system. So I can go ahead and add all the items that we're going to talk about. To me, I have found that this is really, really great to do because people are on the same page. Now, everybody's sitting in the meeting. We're going to start talking about items that need to be taken care of. So I'm going to click this edit button up here at the top. And I'll scroll down and I'm going to take attendance first. So I'll click the drop down and I'll click edit. And John attended. John Bunch called in. And Wayne attended. And I'll update and close. So what happens if somebody else attends the meeting? I can add a new person by clicking Create New and just adding their information. And putting in their attendance while I'm taking the meeting notes. So we have our discussion. General discussion, really don't have any items to add, but I do want to add meeting notes for RFI number 45 status. Okay, so I'm going to add that to John Bunch, and this RFI is outstanding. We've got the contractor is pretty upset and they want an answer. They can't move forward without it. Okay, the status is open and I click add. Now I can continue adding new meeting items by clicking new meeting items to the outstanding RFIs. And that way, I'll see all the items listed there. If I need to add items to the design review process, I can do the same thing. I can also reorder the meeting items in like if I added something, I realized, hey, I want this item to really be in, take the first of the lead, I can reorder my meeting items as well. So the meeting items have, the meeting has been taken, everything's done. I want to save this. And I also want to upload some pictures that they've shared with me so that I've sent to me via my phone. I can log in using my phone or my tablet as well. So don't forget that if you're sitting on the job site and you're taking pictures, you can definitely upload items to any document within Project Team. So I want to add some photos, and I'm just going to go ahead and I can click Upload New, or I can drag and drop. And I'm just going to do a couple of documents here so you see how that works. As you see, it's very quick. So everything uploads super fast. I'm going to scroll up to the top, and I'm going to print this. So I'll select Print, Merge to Template. And you can see this is my meeting record. The output is PDF or MS Word. I strongly suggest PDF. Click Next. And I have 2 attachments that I can also attach. So if I want to attach all of them, just click the box up here at the top and click Next. I can tell it which order I want those attachments to show up in. And then I can go ahead and click Merge. Takes just a couple of seconds. It's really fast, and I can save and share, save and download, or save and email this document. Okay, takes just a second while we're waiting on this to create. Does anybody have any questions about meetings? Okay. All right. So, of course, the DGS logo is going to show up here. You'll see the people who attended and their attendance, the purpose of the meeting. And, Patrick, back to your question about the virtual information, that will show up here as well. You've got any meeting notes. And when you close out a meeting item, it won't show up on the next list, right? And I'll show you that in just 1 second. And then in the attachments that I uploaded are attached here as well. So it's super cool. They get all that information at one time. They can click the drop down and they can save and download, save an email, or save and share. Now, I'm going to go ahead and close this out because I want you to see it. So we have the item that I requested John to do. John went ahead and he closed this item. Okay, it's closed, and I'm going to save it. Well, it shows up on here as closed. You can also upload attachments, reference links, and you can assign action items, from within the grid as well. But I want to show you what happens. So this shows up on this meeting minute, right? So when I create the next in series, are you sure you want to create the next meeting? This will be pre-populated if you don't, and open items. That's really critical. Open items will be copied to the new one. So when I click yes, the outstanding RFIs is gone because I had closed it in the last meeting. So if you ever think, oh my goodness, where did that go? Go back to the previous meeting and take a look at it, and you can change the status if it needs to be discussed, on the next meeting. So go ahead and close that out. Tomorrow, we're going to talk a lot about the financial stuff. So I'm staying away from that for today. I want to go ahead and quickly do safety audits. Okay, so pulling up my QRG. So the safety audit is used by DGS personnel responsible for conducting safety audits for the project. It could be a safety consultant, the DGS project manager, or another designated competent person. As with all documents, you've got the new button. Every document has the new button in the same place. This is your log. If you want to open one that was previously created to edit it, you can click edit. Or if you just want to review it, you can click the hyperlink and it brings you into the documents with all the panels. So I'm going to click new, and I'll go over the fields that you're going to need to enter. You're going to definitely give it a title. Make sure that it is give it a date, and that is the date the audit was conducted. And click inside and select the vendor name, and that's the name of the company responsible for developing and implementing the safety plan for the project. That's typically your general contractor. You want to make sure that you give it a name. This will, for example, it will be safety audit dash the date, right? This is a required field. So, and make sure that you give it a really good description. And then you're going to click new. And you're going to put in the date observed, the category. This is from, you can only choose from this list. If you think something needs to be added, you need to let your admin team know. You want to add a brief description of the item, the building and area, the floor, the room number, and who it was observed by. And you want to check the box if the vendor has been notified, and also put any notes. That's as far as you're going to go at this point, right? You're just going to go ahead and click add. So, because you're going to come back in once it's been resolved. So once you've created it, I'll open one up. You are going to want to scroll down and attach any supporting documentation. This could be photos or other documents that correspond to a safety audit observation. But where you're going to do that is you're actually going to do it via the line item. So if you have several things in here for, several different items, you're going to upload the attachment via this paperclip. Just drag and drop it. Now, it's going to post it down here, but we want to be able to see that there's, relative documentation for that line item there. Drag and drop any supporting files not attributable, hard word for me to say, to a specific safety audit observation line. So anything that doesn't apply to this individual line, make sure you drop it here. So people can come in and they can make comments on the safety audit. You could share it with, the individual parties. They may have questions. So make sure that you're really watching those notifications. If you need to, let's say you need to edit the document, you're going to click edit. And if you need to edit this line item, you click the drop down and you click edit. So if it's time to resolve it, you're just going to scroll down here. You'll select resolved, enter the date, and who observed the resolution. The resolution, who verified it. And you'll click update and close. Now, you can save and share. Click the save and share it with additional people, or just click save. Okay, we've got just a couple more minutes, and I want to make sure I cover everything. So let's talk about submittal package review. Submittal packages can be found over in forms. If you don't have it listed as a favorite form type, come to submittals. And your packages are another tab on your submittal register. So you have items. These are the individual items that are going to be uploaded. And then you have packages, which are a package of submittal documents. I love the way this is laid out. I can click on the submittal package title, but it also lets me see what the reviewer action is, right? I can see that submittal A was rejected. It was the wrong submittal. So they're asking for them to resubmit, a revision. To open it, I can also click individual submittals to review those. Okay. John, I have a question for you on the submittal review process. So as they're do you want them to make their comments in the comments section, their review comments here? Or are those going to be done outside and the final review is going to revision notes and everything will be done here?
Anything that's pertinent should be in the notes within the submittal itself, but I think it's up to the PM really. If there needs to be a little discussion that doesn't need to be a note, it'll help speed things along and help with managing the project, then yeah, I think use of comments is appropriate within those parameters.
Okay, awesome. And who will enter the final reviewer action and action note? Who do you want to do that so it shows up? If I click edit and I come in here on the reviewer action, this should be the final, and then they can put the final notes here?
Yes, and that should be whoever's responsible for responding to the submittal. So it's generally, it would be the architect, engineer, consultant. Some of our projects, the PM does that. So it really depends on the contract, but it's whoever's contractually or business process wise responsible for reviewing submittals.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, John. Okay, I have a question. Will it email a notice to the contractor? Are you talking about the email are you talking about just in general? If the document is shared with the contractor, if they have an action item, if there's a comment made on a document, any of the items that we talked about here, I'm going to go ahead and come back in here for just a second. Any of the email notifications that we talked about at the very beginning, action items, workflows, new shares, and comments made, those will all be notified. They will notify the contractor as well as anybody else. Okay, let me go back into submittals real quick and then we'll close this up for today. Safety issues, same thing. If they're included on the safety issues, the contractors can be included on the safety audit, right, John, once it's complete?
Yes,
or if it's an internal.
As long as you share that safety audit with your contractor, they have their notifications on, they will get a notice. If it's something important and you want them to take immediate action, you can do an action item as well. But as long as they're shared with stuff, they should get the notifications automatically.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we talked about submittal items and packages. Does everybody feel comfortable with those? Okay, so that was a lot for today. I mean, I kept you guys on the phone for a good hour and a half. So thank you for being so patient because that was a lot of information. Don't forget, utilize the projectteam.com/DGS site. These QRGs, John worked really hard on building out the SOP information. They'll really, really walk you through the steps that you need to take and what your role is on each of the documents, especially, one of the things that we're going to talk about tomorrow is we've got some documents that have got workflows on them. And understanding what your role is on the workflow process is really critical. So please make sure that you download those. We do have this recording today will be uploaded to the system. We're recording each of our sessions and they're uploaded. And don't forget, if you need to sign up to take a training class, definitely sign up. That's what the training calendar looks like. If you want to know when Project Team has new information coming out, or we've got new, we're adding to our system constantly, adding all kinds of functionality. So if you want to know about it or you just want to chat with somebody, definitely, sign up on all of our social media. So our recordings are held. That's a really good question. The recordings are going to be on the projectteam.com/DGS site. If you click the visit video page, you can see we put up a few, just to get people started on how to get their account and how to update their system and how to navigate a project. So the ones that I'm doing this week and next week, those will be uploaded to this site and you'll be able to pick and choose the class that you want to take. That was a really good question. Okay, so Does anybody have any questions before I close out today? All right, you guys have been a fabulous audience, and I appreciate all the questions that we've had going, and I really appreciate John Harmon for jumping in and answering a bunch of the DGS stuff. So we look forward to seeing you in our next class, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you soon. You guys have a great afternoon.